the UEFA Europa Conference League, because obviously, Nigel, we got you here, Fiorentina against West Ham now in the final. It's a massive game to look forward to. Obviously, for West Ham fans, it was a little bit unfortunate, the incidents that took place at Alkmaar in the last game, but delighted to see West Ham take care of business and get to a final. Final is going to be taking place in Prague. Of course, you can watch it on Paramount Plus and CBS Sports, but the build-up to this game is brilliant because Fiorentina are not a bad side. They're a dangerous team. They can beat anyone. Watch them on Friday against Sassuolo. Very, very good again. And against this West Ham side, who, in my personal opinion, they have underperformed this season, yet they're in a final. They could bring their best performance, and they might need it in the final.
1000% underperformed. But again, it's about run of form, and they've hit form at the right time, getting themselves to the European final. It's going to be a great game. Fiorentina are going to be no easy mugs. West Ham have kind of been saving themselves for this final to at least end their season on the high. But I'm sure Fiorentina are not going to want that as well. They're going to want to end their season on a high. Worst place that this final could take place is in a city called Prague, because let's just say the beer in Prague is very cheap. I just hope that both sets of fans behave themselves. I've been to Prague. I know how cheap the beer is there. And you've got West Ham fans going there. Just turn off the tap till at least after the game.
I thought you didn't like beer, NRC. You're always giving me crap for sending you all the beer.
I'm a man of the world. I don't drink the crap beer that you drink, but I don't mind a good beer now and then.
I set myself up for that as usual. Yeah. I'm excited for this final. Fiorentina obviously disappointed in the Coppa Italia final, didn't go their way, but they will be riled up about this one. And I've seen West Ham, and Nige, you know them better than anyone, but I like this Fiorentina side. I think that their wide players are what make them dangerous. And one wide player in particular, Nico Gonzalez. This guy is a baller. And if you give him half an inch, he'll take a mile. And I think West Ham, what they've done well in this cup competition is defensively. They've clamped down on teams' attackers defensively. Last season, this team in cup competition reminds me of what made them so difficult to play against last season. Was they were good defensively, and they knew that they had enough match winners in their ranks where one player would step up to get the goal. If they apply that sort of acumen in the final, West Ham will win. But if they have lapses in concentration, then Fiorentina will win through wide play.
Interesting. Real quickly, a debate obviously is taking place right now with David Moyes. Is he the right man to lead West Ham going forward? I think he's done a good job at the football club, obviously, but it's been a very difficult year. And to be able to get back into Europe is never going to be easy for a club like West Ham. But they have spent a ton of money, Nigel. They have spent a ton of money, and it just hasn't worked out for them. There's been some poor signings. Maybe injuries hasn't helped them either.
There have been some signings who haven't hit the ground running. They haven't had the impact that West Ham probably expected. That's the way I look at it. You want to compare it quickly, you look at Newcastle and their signings, and they've been big impacts, instant impact straight away. West Ham haven't had the same luxury. The problem that David Moyes has got is right now is there's some top other managers out there with great credentials that's putting him under pressure. I think he's done tremendously well. The one thing with Moyes is he's not a manager that really rotates his team a lot. And I think that's been one of his biggest problems. Yeah. He hasn't been able to rotate his team a lot. They're still kind of, I would say, they were still kind of celebrating the high of last year's European journey, which was absolutely sensational. Yeah. And then this season was very difficult for them. But when you do that, you need to rotate. And I think that's been his biggest problem. And the signings haven't had the impact. But again, you can question who made the signings. Was it him fully, or was it, other people in there? But if they do lose, there's a big chance that he could get the boot, I feel, even though it's a European final and it might seem harsh to some people, but you got to look at the managers that's available right now. You talk about Potter, you talk about Brendan Rodgers, and I know they're two names that are constantly being mentioned with West Ham. So it's a tough one.
Mike?
Yeah, a question for you, Nige. As a former West Ham player and obviously someone who follows the team closely, if they lose and Moyes goes out, who would you tip and who would you want to replace him?
For a club like that, you need to have a manager with a bit of personality, a bit of strength, a bit of aura about him and character. I like Graham Potter, but I think that the West Ham fan base will be a lot for him. I feel for me, the perfect one right now will probably be a Brendan Rodgers. I think Brendan Rodgers has that personality and charisma to kind of be able to stay in control of that club. And he is a footballing manager, and that's what West Ham fans want to see. I think Brendan Rodgers will probably be the better fit at the moment.
Might even make a change, Nigel, even if they do win. You think that there's obviously conversations going on regardless right now with the managers that are available. So it'll be interesting to see.